Coming up on this episode of the Locked On Bucs podcast, it's a WTSP Wednesday, which means I'm joined by Evan Klosky. We are going to get his thoughts on the blowout victory over the Miami Dolphins. Then we're going to turn the page on a short week. We're going to go ahead and start previewing the Eagles games. Then Evan and I are going to give our predictive players of the game, our bold predictions, and our score predictions ahead of tomorrow's crossover Thursday episode, where David is going to be talking plenty of Eagles. All that coming up right now on Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to a WTSP episode of the Locked On Bucs podcast. And thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. We are free and on all platforms, including YouTube. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe there. I am James Yarko, joined by Evan Klosky. Check out everything I'm doing over at BucsNation.com. Follow along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarko_Bucs, at eKlosky WTSP, and at Bucs_Nation. Evan, I promise not to bring up baseball on this episode, so let's go ahead and, hey, you're going to be, we're recording very early on a Tuesday. You're going to be covering the Lightning banner, ceremony and all that. That's going to be absolutely incredible to watch, but we're here to talk about the win over the Miami Dolphins. We're here to preview the game against the Eagles. So give me your thoughts. It was a tight race between the Bucs and the Dolphins there for 3 quarters before the Buccaneers finally blew it open. What were kind of your thoughts and your takeaways there on the game?
Yeah, and honestly, man, I think giving it 3 quarters might be a little bit generous. I think ever since Jacoby Brissett got hurt, the game was over. Brissett was doing a great job. He motored that team down the field, and then he had that hamstring issue. He's on the cart. He's off the cart. He's playing the whole game. And when you eliminate the ability for him to rush out of the pocket and to be that dual threat guy, Jacoby Brissett is not Tom Brady. So making him a pocket passer really just plays into the strength of whatever NFL defense you're playing. I don't care how beaten up right now the Bucs are. For the most part, that's going to be a winning formula. So, just first and foremost, this was the standard where the Bucs offense needs to be held. I believe 1 punt with Tom Brady under center. Bruce Arians said if he had to nitpick, coming out of halftime was the area to do it. Something we sort of saw, I guess, after that Falcons game, which was probably the next best performance we've seen from this team. Right. But if you eliminate the BS drive where Pinion missed the 60-yarder, they went down the field and they scored points every single time. And that was a well-oiled machine. And when we talked about we haven't reached our potential, this was it. I think the Bucs firing on all cylinders is what you saw against the Dolphins. Just a unit that cannot be stopped. Tom Brady, magical with his 400-plus yards, 5 tubbies, a 13-yard run as the guy continues to flash a scramble once per game. If every week we can pick for our player of the week, Tom Brady, we would do it. But just offensively speaking, A+.
Yeah, at one point, Brady had more rushing yards than the Miami Dolphins did as a team. Now, Gaskin kind of started to chip into that. I think he only finished with like 25 rushing yards, but he had a couple of decent runs. But, the Dolphins came out firing. They scored 10 points on their first 2 drives. They had 17 points heading into the fourth quarter. The Buccaneers had given up Miami's longest touchdown drive of the season. So I don't know. I was kind of at a point where I wasn't concerned it was more frustration and irritation. And I understand at that point they were playing without Lavonte. We already know about the corners. It's a short staffed defense. This is a team that, is David and I talked about yesterday, this is a team that has lost at least one starter every single game this year. And most of those have been on the defensive side of the ball. So what were your impressions of the defense? I realize this is Jacoby Brissett, not Tua. They were without their top two receivers, but how did you feel the defense performed given the circumstances, and kind of what are your thoughts on Lavonte David there?
So first and foremost, I thought that the defense really closed strong. I thought, at a time there where it was like, okay, the Bucs have a fat lead. Now we're going to get into that time of the game where the Bucs score and the Dolphins score. The Bucs score and the Dolphins score, and the Bucs just kind of give it up. But they didn't. I mean, they really Dolphins were in and out off the field, 3 and outs. I was impressed with how they closed the game. I thought they started on shaky footing. Richard Sherman's still not quite there yet, but again, that is to be expected, as that should have been his first real game with the team before getting thrust into action in New England. As for Lavonte David, it's a tough L. I'm not 100% sure how to synthesize that yet. You still have Devin White. I'm wondering against the Eagles if they're going to be exploited a little bit in the middle of the field. Kevin Minter, though, is a 9-year veteran. He's a guy that has started 40-plus games in the NFL. He is certainly someone capable of stepping up to the job. He is not Lavonte David, but he is somebody who is, he doesn't get plugged into the game, and it's going to be a huge hole. We're just thankful that Lavonte's injury seems fairly short-term. Obviously, he's missing Thursday's game. Now you have a long break after that. Maybe we can start talking about him coming back for the next game, but I would assume that the Buccaneers would be as conservative as possible, especially considering with all these injuries happening. And I said it on air last night on 10 Bay, but the fact is there are so many injuries with this team, but they have yet to have the season-ending injury. And as long as you make the playoff, knock on wood, big time, because of how the season's going with everybody going down. But as long as you make the playoffs, then you just need everybody there for that stretch. So to me, the Bucs are kind of, it's so hard to do this in the NFL, but because of their schedule and because of their talent, especially offensively, because again, they've been, knock on wood, pretty darn healthy outside of maybe like a Scotty Miller or Gio Bernard there on offense, that they've been able to at least, that side of the ball has been unaffected. So it's a tough blow. How tough of a blow is it? We are about to find out. So I don't know. As I said with the Gronk injury, I thought they'd be just fine putting in Braid or OJ Howard. Obviously, they're not Gronk, but I was wrong on that one. Brady missed Gronk in that Patriots game. So we'll see how badly they missed David.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But you and I are going to get into that Eagles game here in just a minute. But I have an incredible app for anybody that buys gas, which is pretty much if you don't have a Tesla, you're going to buy gas. And that app is Get Upside. I use it all the time, and our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. You download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play. Use promo code Touchdown and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. So that's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free. Use promo code Touchdown to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot, that's me, they're making up to $200 to $300 a month in cash back. There's no catch. The cash back gets added directly to your account. You can cash out anytime with your bank account, your PayPal. You can redeem it for gift cards for places like Amazon, other brands. All you have to do is download the free Get Upside app and use promo code touchdown. Segment 2 here of the Locked On Bucs podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. Evan, you and I are responsible now for previewing the Eagles game, or the initial preview now, with David doing the crossover tomorrow, because normally David and I have a Friday preview show. We go through some like prop bets that we want to take, but we don't have time for that. We got to dive right into this game. And one of the first things that I'm looking at, we kind of touched on it in the last segment, is that loss of Lavonte David. You said that's going to leave them a little bit vulnerable in the middle. And that's something that I stressed to David, is how important, we all know how good Lavonte David is. We know how important he is, but he's so important in the passing game, being able to cover tight ends. This is an Eagles team that has kind of a dual-headed monster at tight end in Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. You don't want either on your fantasy team. It's kind of like the Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin situation in Dallas. You don't want those guys on your fantasy team because you never know which one is going to produce. So with an Eagles team now that is coming in, they've completely abandoned Miles Sanders altogether. So they're going to throw the ball. Any running is going to be done by Jalen Hurts when he's under pressure, trying to escape the pocket, gain some positive ground. Their number one receiver is a Heisman-winning rookie, but he hasn't really taken the league by storm by any means. He's had some flashes, but I look to Goddard and I look to Ertz as being those go-to guys that are going to move the ball for the Eagles. How do you think a struggling pass defense that now loses Lavonte David is going to be able to handle the Eagles offense and the passing game?
Yeah, I think this is a tricky matchup for the Buccaneers, and you're 100% right on the tight ends. I think that the Eagles are going to try to attack the field right through the seam, whether that's Ertz or Goddard. Devonta Smith, has not ballooned to the player that we thought he might be. Having said that, I still think he has a pretty good shot of getting 1,000 receiving yards. We're going to have to adjust how impressive that is now that an extra game has been added on the schedule. But, Devonta Smith, if Carlton Davis was on the team, I would say, well, I'm not too worried about him. Sure. But I think Smith can exploit what he's working against on Thursday with the Bucs secondary. So, especially for like fantasy terms, like Smith, the tight ends, Hurts, all those guys, you got to give them a tick up because that's just how this defense is. But that's the other thing. The leading rusher on this team is Jalen Hurts. And you're in a pretty tricky spot to make sure that you can contain him and create pressure at the same time. So what we've been seeing is Todd Bowles amp up the pressure because he wants to force the ball out quickly so that teams can't exploit the secondary. But if you blitz constantly and you don't get to Hurts is going to go for 25 yards per carry, because if he can navigate it, maybe you'll get him sacked. And that will be the end of one drive. But, if you keep doing it, you're going to get burned. And it's going to be huge chunk plays. So this is a game where the red zone defense, which for the Bucs I think has been fairly good this season, despite all their defensive woes and injuries. This is a game where the Eagles are going to drive down the field. They're going to get chunk yards. And then you need to step up in the red zone. So I don't know how this one's going to play out. I think this is actually a pretty good matchup for the Eagles. It's, and we'll get to the offensive side of the ball in a minute. But, I don't know what to do if you're Todd Bowles. It's really a Jekyll and Hyde situation. So you're going to have to give Hurts different looks and create pressure in creative ways so that you have a safety valve in case Hurts rips one off. Or maybe you're just okay with the Hurts runs. Maybe you say, screw it. If Hurts wants to run for $125 on us, that's fine. We'll take that risk and we'll just defend what we got to defend, and we'll continue to send pressure and see what happens. So that first quarter is going to be very telling on whether the game plan for Todd Bowles is a good one or they need to adjust quickly. And I'm really interested more than any other week to see how they handle a guy like Jalen Hurts with that dual threat ability without one of your best linebackers in tow.
Yeah, there's no question that Hurts he can hurt you. But there's going to be 2, 3, maybe 4 times throughout this game where Jalen Hurts is going to rush and convert a third down and extend a drive that could end up in points. There's always the chance they can get a takeaway or end up getting a stop on the next set of downs. But Jalen Hurts' legs will absolutely extend drives. So you're right. It's going to be a really interesting chess match for Todd Bowles as to how he's going to attack this without Lavonte David. We still don't know for sure whether or not Antoine Winfield Jr. is going to play, which nothing against Mike Edwards, but when you have somebody like Jalen Hurts that is that dual threat, it helps to have Antoine Winfield Jr. out there. You kind of hope that Sherman's going to take that next step, but I'm not expecting a miracle. I'm not expecting a Pro Bowl caliber corner to set foot on the field wearing number 5 on Thursday. On the other side of the ball, or the other sideline for the Buccaneers, we're hearing about Gronk, right? That he might be able to go this week. And David and I talked about it yesterday. I'd love to get your thoughts. If it was my decision, I'm sitting Gronk again this week. We saw, as you mentioned, how badly they needed Gronk in New England. Not so much against Miami. OJ Howard was getting involved. Antonio Brown and Mike Evans both go off. Chris Godwin was getting his. Lenny was breaking ankles, catching the ball out of the backfield. Gio was getting involved. So it seems like they were able to work around that a little bit. And I would rather Gronk get another week off, rest, not play this Thursday so that he's ready the following week. Give him that extra break because honestly, I don't think they need Gronk in this matchup in order to get a win. It would be nice to have him, but I don't think it's necessary. How would you approach the situation?
I'll tell you this. I think Gronk's needed. I think this is a Gronk game. Like the Eagles are a top 5 passing defense. Go look at what happened with the Patriots when Brady did not have his safety valve against a team with great corners and a great passing defense. The Eagles have 3 guys to line up against Tampa Bay's 3 guys. So if there's actually any team in the NFL who can kind of deal with what the Bucs are bringing you, it's the Eagles. Having said that, Gronk is that X factor in the game because I think that is where the Eagles defense can get exploited, is again right up the seam. So if he can play, I'd love for him to play. Now, having said that, if he's hurt, he's hurt. You can't push him. I don't think you need, in the grand scheme of things, winning a game in the middle of October means diddly poo if you're going to lose Gronk for another 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it might be. But it's a rib injury. It's all about pain tolerance, and if he's ready to go, then let it rip. Having said that, this game's going to come down to regular season Lenny, Lombardi Lenny. Give me the Rock Lenny. I don't care what kind of Lenny you want to put in front of it. I think he's also the X factor.
Yeah, I'm expecting some good things out of Leonard Fournette in this matchup, and we're going to get to our predictions here in just a minute. But some good news on my end. My son doesn't have any hockey games this weekend, which is fantastic because I have to restock on Built Bars. His team mowed through my stash of Built Bars. So I got a mix box on the way. Let some of these kids decide what bars they like. But you guys know the flavors: salted caramel, peanut butter brownie, double chocolate, mint brownie, raspberry cherry, coconut almond. There's something for everyone. Like I said, I went with the mix box. Going to get 2 of each of those bars. Give those kids a little boost with 17 to 18 grams of protein, 130 to 180 calories, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you're going to get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Wrapping things up here on a WTSP Wednesday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarko, Evan Klosky, and it is time for predictions, good sir. We are going to kick things off with our predictive players of the game. As the guest on the show, I will defer to you. I think I know which direction you're going, given what you said in the last segment, but go ahead and give me your predictive player of the game.
Player of the game, Leonard Fournette.
Yeah,
I think it is very obvious that Lenny's the guy. He's earned it. You know,
absolutely.
Bruce Arians loves to tote the rock, the hot hand, I should say. He doesn't tote the rock anymore. And it's quite obvious that Leonard Fournette has earned the 1A job and the 1B. So I think that Lenny goes over 100. I think, this partly can bleed into, bold prediction, but I think he'll go over 130, which would be the most that he's had since October 20th with the Jags, I believe in 2019. Let me double check that. Yeah, 2019.
Okay.
So 2 years ago. So the most rushing yards that Leonard Fournette has had in 2 years.
See, I wanted to go with Leonard Fournette for mine, but I was taking a look at some numbers before we started recording, and I'm like, all right, so the Eagles are in the bottom third in rush defense, but they're in the top third in pass defense. I bet Evan ends up going Leonard Fournette. So
you're a smart man.
I'm going to go bold with my player prediction, and I don't care if the Eagles are in the top 5 in pass defense. This is a Chris Godwin game. I'm taking Chris Godwin. He is due for an explosion. We've seen Antonio Brown explode multiple times this year. We've seen Mike Evans explode multiple times this year. We've seen Gronk explode the first 2 weeks of the year. This is a Chris Godwin game. He's going to get in the end zone. He will lead the team in receptions, maybe not yards, but he'll lead in receptions. And I will say that 50% of the Buccaneers' third down conversions will be on Chris Godwin receptions. So he's going to have key catches in key moments in order to help spark this team. Give me 1-4 as the player of the game. Let's kick it over to the bold predictions. Evan, what do you have for me?
The bold prediction, and it's bold because it hasn't happened since the first game of the year in 2017.
Ooh.
Tom Brady will throw 50% or lower in the game. That's
wow.
Yeah. I think a mixture of the Eagles having a fantastic passing defense, the fact that this game is a Thursday night football game, and the fact that he's also dealing with a thumb injury, I think is a recipe for him just to be a wee bit off on Thursday.
Well, and it's no secret that the Buccaneers in the regular season since last year in the Tom Brady era have struggled in these primetime games.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a good showing last year. They've struggled in their 2 primetime wins this year. Offensively, not as much, in the Dallas game, but it was a lot closer than many of us believed. And then obviously,
though Dallas looks like a really good team.
They absolutely do. But a lot of us predicted, multi-score victories in that one, and the defense didn't look up to snuff. But that Patriots game, Brady was off. So I want to see a solid performance out of Brady in this primetime game. And given your track record on bold predictions, I'm a little shaky now.
Well, last week I don't think I hit the nail on the head on last week I said Chris Godwin game, and I was so like, oh, it's not going to be an AB game because it's Xavier Howard, and then AB still torched Howard, which is remarkable.
He's got that man speed.
But again, coming off of my successful 20-17 score prediction against the Patriots, I had 28-17 for the Dolphins. So I got the Dolphins 17 right. I just didn't get the I think that was the third quarter score, by the way. I
think it was like 24-17.
24-17. I forget whether it was something like that. But yeah. I was a little more shaky last week than I was the previous week.
All right, my bold prediction with Lavonte David out, I am going with the Devin White trifecta. Devin White will have a sack, he will have an interception, and he will have a forced fumble in this game. It's going to be up to him to be able to shadow and spy Jalen Hurts, making sure that those legs do not become an issue for the Buccaneers defense. And I think in doing so, he's going to be able to get him behind the line, and he's going to be able to strip him at one point. Let's throw in a makeup interception for that last primetime game where he straight up dropped a pick. He jumped that route so bad, the ball was behind him. So he's going to make up for that this time around on Thursday Night Football. So give me Devin White as the standout with a trifecta for the defense. Evan, score predictions. I'm nervous to hear what yours is because you do not sound confident in this matchup for the Buccaneers.
I don't have the stones to pick the Eagles, but I'm telling you right now that I am definitely afraid that the Bucs are going to lose this game. There's just a lot of things that I do not like about this matchup, and playing on Thursday night on the road, especially against an Eagles team who's going to have that X written all over the schedule of we want to beat the Bucs. This is a scary, scary spot. Having said that, I'm going to go with 23-21 Buccaneers.
All right.
I really want to pick the Eagles to win this game, but I can't do it. I'm not as confident as I was with that Rams prediction.
Yeah, well, and I'll let you know right now, if the Eagles win, when you come on next week, I'm not giving you partial credit.
I don't get partial credit. No, I can kick myself in the tush for not pulling the trigger, but I'm just giving a warning right now for everybody out there. Brace yourself. This is not going to be easy peasy. It's going to be a long day in Philly, and it's going to have to be a grind them out sort of contest.
All right. Well, I'm a little bit more confident in my score prediction. As good as the Eagles' pass defense is, I don't believe that this Eagles team is built to beat the Buccaneers. I think we're going to see some opportunistic plays. Like I said, I'm already predicting basically 2 takeaways by Devin White himself. That's going to kill Eagles drives, and I think they're both going to turn into Buccaneers points. I'm taking the Bucs to win 27-13 in primetime. Finally, a regular season statement primetime performance by both sides of the ball. I mean, I'm not saying 400 yards and 5 touchdowns for Brady by any means, but the offense is going to do enough and the defense is going to look good, and they're going to win this one by 2 scores.
We'll see. I'm hoping that your confidence is better than my glass half empty sort of outlook right now. But I keep it real. I don't sugarcoat it. So I try to give you exactly how I'm feeling, and if I'm wrong, hand up. I'll be the first one to take all the slander.
Yeah, we actually had somebody in the YouTube comments say that they laugh every time I praise Antonio Brown because I was so anti-signing Antonio Brown last year, and I'm like, hey, there's no shame in admitting I was wrong. I thought he might have been a problem. I didn't think they were going to need him. There's no question he helps the team out. So I was wrong. So, all right, Evan, I know you are absolutely swamped this week with all the sports coverage, and you're getting ready to head over and cover the Lightning to open the NHL season. No Sid the Kid for this one, but the game will be over by time by the time this goes out, but give me your score prediction for that anyway.
Banner raising ceremony, a lot of energy inside a packed Amalie Arena. I'm going to go with a 4-1 final score Bolts victory, nice and easy before the team immediately heads on the road, and we get this season going.
I love it. That's exactly the score that I had in my mind. So let's go Bolts. It'll be a fun one for sure. Let everybody know what you have going on over there at 10 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so remember, immediately following that Thursday night football game, the Blitz will be airing on Sunday discussing the game that just happened. We did it for the Cowboys game. This is going to be the last time where we will have an episode where we can break down the game that was. So you're going to want to tune into 10 Tampa Bay at 11:30. You want to tune into 10 Tampa Bay at 8:30 in the morning because we've got the London game on CBS. So it's an early showing of the Blitz with Simeon Rice, and he'll give his unfiltered opinions, which are always entertaining. So on top of that, head to 10tampabay.com where we have your coverage and everything you need to know on the area, whether it is the Buccaneers, the Lightning now, RIP Rays. We still got stuff up about them. Yeah. And the Rowdies making, their push towards another USL title. So again, I'm on Twitter at eCloskey, WTSP. Hit me up. 99.9% of the time, I'll always respond. Keep it respectful.
That's right. All right. And we thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available on all platforms. Just like this show, which now includes YouTube. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel, subscribe, like the videos, set up the notifications. We're going to have exclusive YouTube content coming there that you won't get on the podcast feed. You're not going to want to miss that. Check out everything I'm doing over at BucsNation.com. Make sure you're following along on Twitter at LockedOnBucs, at JArco_Bucs, at DHarrison82, at eCloskeyWTSP, and at Bucs_Nation. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another. And we thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.